Hey guys, this is Daniel Garza and welcome to my YouTube page. In my quest to become a better actor, performer, whatever, I have determined to go on this quest and interview my friends who have a job outside of show business to find out if there's anything that they're doing in their jobs to make me a better performer. And among those people, I found Steven. Steven is one of my good buddies. We've been friends for quite a little bit now. And Steven is actually a public speaker for his company. He has been in the business for 12 years, and I figure with 12 years he's got a pretty good line of experience. So I'm going to drill on a couple of questions, and maybe you guys can get something out of this too. So, Steven, 12 years talking in front of people.
Yes.
Safely assume that you have talked to thousands of people.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Crowds vary from...
We'll do, we go around doing speeches for numerous different groups. We'll do it for 3 to 6 people all the way up to 200 people. Last week in San Francisco we did a 200 crowd audience, and do a small sales group of 5.
And you've been doing this for 12 years now.
Sales for about 12 years, speaking for full-time for about 2 years.
And among those, have you noticed a difference in your delivery over the years?
Oh, absolutely. Every speech seems to get a little bit better.
And does your delivery vary depending on the amount of people you have?
Absolutely. You can be more intimate with a smaller group. You can almost have it become a conversation, where you're having a conversation with a smaller group of people. The larger the group tends to be, the more you have to kind of push the information out. You can't really be as receptive because you start to lose, especially your people in the further back areas and stuff like that.
Okay. So now, my question is, your assertiveness, does it make a difference, your tone of voice, the way you deliver the project or the product to the amount of people? Mm-hmm. Or are you still the same determined?
You can be the same determination, but with a smaller group, you'll have a lot less of a kind of assertion or aggression where you're kind of putting it out. With a smaller group, again, it's more like a conversation. So you just kind of work your way around the room telling your points, and you're making sure that individual people have feedback. And in a smaller setting, a lot of times you can stop and address concerns and questions that come up as they happen. In a bigger group, it's a lot easier to lose control that way, so you pretty much push back on the audience and you ask them to hold their questions until the end.
So we can simply say that you've traveled from coast to coast, and Canada also, I believe?
Canada and Mexico.
Oh, Mexico too. All right. So that was a whole new demographic.
Right.
So does your style travel the same in San Francisco that it does in Florida?
No. Regional areas of the country, when you get into New York, it's a little bit different. When you're in Birmingham, Alabama, it's a little bit different. Atlanta's different. San Francisco's different. A lot of times you find the coasts are a little bit more progressive, and the center of the country is a little bit less, and so you have to tailor your speech a little bit that way. You also have demographics and age. If you're speaking to a younger crowd, you can use different terms and words than you can with an older crowd. With a younger crowd, it can be more computer-driven, and you can make assumptions that people know certain things, like how to use Excel and PowerPoint and things like that. When you're speaking to a group of people who are in their 50s and 60s, they may not be familiar with that. So you can't just assume that there's a level of knowledge there. You have to actually check and make sure that it is.
So I guess that would be the same thing as with improv or comedians. When you travel from state to state, city to city, you have to know who your audience is to make the delivery. Not every audience will get the same jokes. Now, you've taken an acting class. You've taken several acting classes.
Right.
We're going to touch on that. Have you seen your job increase because of your acting?
My speeches have gotten significantly better because of my acting, yes, acting classes.
And do you think you were able to get into a little bit of acting because of your job?
Yeah, I mean, being in front of people is they say, it's the #1 fear. So to be able to stand up in front of a group and be able to talk and actually, present a message with an intent to deliver is one thing. And I think acting kind of follows that, where you're trying to get an objective across, you're trying to act out a scene, and you've got all the background things that you have to know to be able to act out that scene successfully. So yeah, I do think one helps, the other.
It helps the other. So we were talking earlier about, Steve was telling me that it's not so much selling the product, because you already are an actor, or you're already a comedian, or you're already doing improv, so they know what your product is. It's about delivering, you can finish this part about it. It's not the product.
Right. what I do when I get out there is I try to take whatever it is that they've invited us in for. If they're there because they want to learn about a given technology, or if they're there because they want to translate how a given technology can help them in their current careers. One example is the new green legislation. How is the new legislation and the new dollars flowing from that going to benefit these salesmen that we're training and talking to be able to get them more dollars? If we're talking to customers, how is that going to help them become greener, to be able to look like a better company? So knowing what we're looking for before we even go in, we can tailor the presentation accordingly so that they get the most out of it.
Gotcha. So see guys, it's not so much selling, we already know you're an actor, we already know you're funny, we already know that's probably why they hired you to come in and do this job. Now you've got to sell the project, make sure that you're believable in whatever you're going to be doing, whether it's drama or comedy or whatever. You've got to be able to deliver that. Am I on the right track here?
And you have to always check in with your audience. You can't go and do a whole scene or a speech for 15 minutes and not pay attention to what's going on out there. You need the feedback to be able to keep you going. So if you're in a scene with somebody else, you need their feedback to be able to enhance what you're doing. And the same thing with a speech. If you're just talking to a group and all of a sudden all the eyes close and the heads go down, you know you're losing your mark. You need to do something. You need to stop, go back, figure out what it is that you're missing with them, and readjust them. Are you being monotone? Are you being too quiet? Are you not moving? Are you stagnant? Do you need to do something? Do you need to just hit something, make some noise to get people to jerk up and have that adrenaline flow through their body? Something to get them back once you start to lose them. So you have to always have that interaction back and forth.
So safe to say that just like we have our co-stars or our fellows on stage for improv, your audience is your co-star.
Yes.
You have to make sure that they're following and they're captured in the same emotions that you are, or it doesn't work.
In fact, I had this conversation yesterday. We had a webinar where we did it on a WebEx, where people would log in and they would watch a PowerPoint slide and they would listen to me on the phone. And the biggest problem with that as a speaker is, A, there's no interaction. So I don't know if people are falling asleep. I don't know if I'm losing them to their BlackBerries. I don't know what they're doing. The second part of that is I don't have a chance to stop and take a breather and engage someone and let them talk. So you've got breathing control that you have to maintain. You have to keep your diaphragm going. And all the things that you learn in acting class that no one ever teaches you in speaking classes all of a sudden came through and were able to help me get through an hour of talking without losing
your momentum
or your wind. Because if you lose your wind, and it's funny to say it, but if you don't breathe the right way, 5 minutes into talking, you can be out of breath. And then if you have to move in addition to that, all of a sudden you're huffing and puffing and you sound like you're panicking. And then people will start to hear you and they'll just not know what's going on.